Greetings and welcome to Yarnspirations.com. I'm Mary Beth Temple for Hooked for Life, and in this video we're going to take a look at the Pop-A-Minute Crochet Baby Blanket. To make this blanket you're going to need some Bernat Super Value in your main color. You're going to need Bernat Pop, which has all kinds of different colors in it. 2 balls of that and 2 balls of the Super Value. You're going to need a crochet hook size H8 5mm or size needed to obtain gauge. And while not a deal breaker, I used a couple of stitch markers to help me remember which was the right and wrong side of my work. So if you have some of those, that might be a good choice. So you make this blanket in strips, and each strip has a center that is a different color of the pop yarn. It's a fun way to use this yarn, and I can't wait to show you how to do it. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is using the pop so that the color pop in your throw pops up where you want it to pop up. You don't want it to change color near the end of a strip, because if you do that, then you'll have a weird color change. It'll just sort of pop up out of nowhere. So the way to do that is to make sure that when you start stitching with the pop that you're stitching at the very, very beginning of the color change. So looking at my skein right here, we see we have the blue in the center. The first thing I'm going to do is pull that out. Now here's my general rule. If it begins with the blue, which it does, I don't think I'm going to start with that color, because here's my worry: how much of that blue is missing? Now, if I had picked this up and I saw some of the other color before it and knew that it was starting right here, then I would probably do that. But in this case, and there's no reason I can't go back and use it later once I get an idea that I have enough, you know, if I have enough yardage or not. But what I'm going to do is start with the second color that is in my skein, and here it is. Oops, sorry. Bang the camera there. You see the blue, and then you see the gray. So I'm going to go ahead and begin with the gray, because once again I want to make sure that I am at the very, very beginning of the color. So I'm going to chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And we also have a diagram here, so we can take a look at that too. There's our chain 11 is right here. All right, but I am reading the text because I find that easier when I'm trying to talk at the same time. 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in 7th chain from hook. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 3 double crochet. Oops, tried to make a treble there. Let's try that again. 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, skip next 3 chain, double crochet in the last chain. So 1, 2, 3, double crochet in the last chain. So here's what it looks like in real life, and here's what it looks like in the chart. All right, we did our chain 11, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and then that double crochet at the end. So moving on to the next row is chain 3 turn, we'll turn chain 3, and then put that 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet right in that chain 2 space, and then double crochet at the very top of that beginning chain. So we have turned and we chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, 3 double crochet, chain 2, in that chain 2 space, and then double crochet in the top of the beginning chain. See, so it says it at the top of the chain 3, but it's not chain 3 that very first time. They do definitely mean the turning chain. So we're going to repeat that row over and over and again until the work measures approximately 28 inches or 71 centimeters, and we're going to end on a right side row, and row 1 was a right side row. So if you want to remember which is the right side row and which is the wrong side row, you might want to grab a stitch marker and just mark the right side. I'm just going to plop it in there through a couple of stitches so I know that if I am looking at the stitch marker, I'm looking at a right side row. So I'm going to go ahead and make a few more of those rows, and then we're going to take a look at the border. Okay, moving on. And just to be clear, I said border right before the last clip ended, but I meant, of course, the rounds that go around the strip. So this is part of the strip. The word border applies to the border that you will work around the blanket as a whole. So let's take a look at these rounds. So it says begin working in rounds as follows, with the right side facing, and I know which side is the right side because I put my stitch marker there, and that's going to help me keep things moving. Oh, one more thing I wanted to add before you move on, I would count how many rows of these 3 double crochet shells that you have and write it down on the pattern or in on a piece of paper in my work bag, because as you move forward you want to make sure that each strip is the same length so that when you assemble it all at the end you don't have anybody that looks a little short or a little long. So this is a good time to count and make sure that you have the same number of rows in each subsequent strip. So the main color is the Bernat Super Value. I'm going to join that with a slip stitch to the top right corner, which is here. And you can also see that on the diagram. We're working here. I'm joining here, and there's my chain 6. So there's my slip stitch. I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that counts as 1 double crochet and a chain 3. And then I'm going to put 3 double crochet in the same space. 1. Whoops. Here, let's try that again. 3. Slip stitch in next chain 2 space, so that's here, that's between the 2 groups of 3 double crochets, and then 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet in the next corner. So since you have, my goodness, I am making a mess today. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 double crochets in the same corner. So essentially what's happening here is you're setting this strip up as if it is a granny square, and so many of us have done granny squares, so this should be a really familiar action to you. It's a rectangle, so you're going to have 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, and everything else is going to be a side. So speaking of the sides, the next instruction says working down the left side of strip, 3 double crochet around each double crochet or chain 3 space to next corner. So what it's telling you is put those 3 double crochets in the hole. The reason there's so many words there is if you are working on what was the end of a row, there's a double crochet there. But if you're working at the beginning of a row, what was the beginning of the row, then that's a turning chain, so that's a chain 3. So they're saying put your 3 doubles in there regardless of what you're working around. Don't make yourself crazy about whether it's a turning chain or if it is a double crochet, because it's the same ball game all the way around. So here's my side, and I'm going to keep going down, and then when I get to the corner, it will be 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet. When I get to the next corner, it will be 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, and then I'm going to work those 3 double crochet groups along the side just the same way I did on the first side, and then we'll take just a brief look at how to join that round and a little look at the beginning of the second round, because it is just slightly unusual. And once you get past that, it'll be very simple. And let's take a look at that on the chart as well. So we're heading around. So this is the way we're working. La la la, there's our sides. Corner, corner, side, 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 and then we get here and we're going to put 2 right there, and I'm going to show you that right now. So once again, just to give you a peek, I'm coming up on the first round, the end of the first round. I'm going to put 2 doubles in the same space as I had put my slip stitch. So in that very first corner, and then I'm going to join the round with a slip stitch in the 3rd chain. So 1, 2, 3. Here's my 3rd chain up. So looking at the chart for the second round, and of course you can follow along in the text as well, the thing I wanted to point out is right here where we have these sort of extra tall double crochets. Now, we didn't make them trebles. You don't want them to stand out so much from their neighbors on either side, but I do want to point out when you get to that, you want to be very careful that your gauge is not so tight that you get a big dip in there. You can see from the top, what we want is the top of the stitches to line up with each other. So I have finished my first round, and then I'm going to put a slip stitch in that chain 3 space and chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 double crochets in the same space. 1, 2, 3, and this is where I want them to be nice and loose, because my next 3 double crochets are going way down here. They're going in the chain 2 space of the row below. So just take it easy. Don't make them so tight that you get a big dip. 2, 3. And then next is a corner. So 3 doubles, chain 3, 3 doubles. All right, cruising along on that second round of the 3 rounds that surround the strip. So we're up here, we're on the blue, we did that extra long double crochet and the corner. So now we are working between groups of 3 double crochet, because the round before all of the groups were 3 double crochet, but you may notice up here sometimes it's 3 and sometimes it's 2. So whether you're following the diagram or you're reading along with the text, you want to make sure that you know when you're putting 3 in and when you're putting 2 in. But no matter how many you're putting in, you're working between those groups of 3. Now, I know many of you are allergic to diagrams and you'd rather do the text, but I'm telling you, in this instance, it's so much easier to just look at the diagram and see where you are. So I'm going to go 3 between the next 2 groups, then 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, and then I'm at the corner. So I'm going to, those 3 are part of the corner, so I'm going to start with 3. Now, obviously, yours will be a lot longer. I'm working just a small sample. But you will keep repeating those. I'm going to move that over so you can see a little better. You're going to keep repeating the stitch patterns on the side as many times as you need to get where you need to get. My only point on this round is you are working between the groups of 3. Once again, sort of like a granny square. Now, on subsequent rows, let's get my hand back there so you can see. The pattern's not going to say work between groups of 3 because sometimes we have groups of 3 and groups of 2. My point is, on the subsequent round, you can see where to put it, whether it's between a 2 on your right and a 3 on your left, or a 3 on your right and a 2 on your left. You can see the whole. So don't get yourself crazy counting when you're trying to put these subsequent rows on. You can see where they belong. So go ahead and finish the second and third round that cover the strip, and then we're going to come back and take a look at the border. All right, I have finished 2 small strips and sewn them together as was instructed so that we can take a brief look at the border. Now, when we were working on the strips, we were following the diagram in this direction. But now that we have sewn them together, and we have sewn them together following the color chart, the handy dandy color chart that shows you what order to put them in, we're now going to start, so we used to start here, but now on the border, we're going to start at the top right corner of the assembled blanket. So let's get these guys, and again, it doesn't matter which way I turn because this is just a sample, but now we're going to work on the top right corner of the blanket. So we have 1, 2, 3 border rounds, and they're marked up here, which tells you that's where we're going to begin. So we're going to join with a slip stitch and chain 6 and put 3 double crochet in the same space, and then 2 between the next 2 groups, then 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, and then a corner in the corner. So you are essentially working the border around the whole blanket that you did around each strip. You're just starting in a different place, but you're going to do that same thing where you have 2 double crochet left and join it. There's the slip stitch, 1, 2, 3, the slip stitch in the 3rd chain of the beginning chain 6. So you're going to put those 1, 2, 3 border rounds on, starting at the top right corner and working between the groups like you've been doing since the very beginning. And then you're finished. All you have to do is weave in the ends because all your assembly is done before you put your border on. So thank you so much for joining us here at Yarnspirations.com for the Pop a Minute Crochet Baby Blanket. I'm Mary Beth Temple from Hooked for Life. We look forward to seeing you again right here real soon.